In here I have a new servo. It's the Brushless Servo Upgrade Kit, direct from Evil Mad Scientists for the AxiDraw drawing machine, not just any old drawing machine. But Dan, you may say, didn't you just recently install a new servo from Evil Mad Scientist? Hi, this is Video Editing Dan here. I'm just jumping in really quickly because I realise this video goes on for quite a long time, because right in the middle there's a whole sequence where I'm actually attaching the servo for people who want to watch that. If you don't want to sit all the way through there, here's a very quick review. The brushless servo is a lot stronger, so it can lift a lot heavier weights, which in turn means you can apply a lot more downward pressure, which is what the spring's for that comes in the kit. But that downward pressure means it is actually a lot noisier, so if you're going for quiet, go for the coreless servo. The advantage of that downward pressure is it works a lot better with gel pens and rollerball pens. I tried something with a white ink pen that I don't normally have much success with, and it's actually come out really good on the first time. I don't normally have that experience, so I'm feeling very positive about that. The other thing I tried is using a pencil, and it actually works with a pencil where the default servo has never worked with a pencil for me. So I think this is going to widen up the number and types of pens that I can use, and also the pens I can use reliably. It didn't work with the Posca pens so far in my experimenting. Those ones that you have to push down to prime, it still doesn't have enough force for those. So there's that. Other people might have more luck with them. It was also pretty easy to fix. Even I managed to do it, but you'll see that later. So overall, I think it's quite a good thing. It's noisier, it's stronger. So if you constantly find yourself adding weight to the pens, then this is probably a good thing for you. Anyway, I'll let you get on with the rest of the video now. Bye. You made a whole video about it and everything, saying how pleased you were that it meant you wouldn't have to keep changing servos all the time and how great, and that was it for a while. Well, yes I did, and that was for the coreless servo upgrade kit. I'll link the video up here somewhere in the top left and down below, where I talk about how easy that was to install and how much quieter it is, and you should probably definitely go watch that video if you're interested in getting a new servo for the AxiDraw. This is slightly different, and I'll go into that more in a moment, but first let's unbox it and see what's inside the packaging. Okay, packaging, sticker. So we have a power unit. Now I'm in Europe, the UK, so it's come with a bunch of adapters. I'll be using that one because it's the most sensible plug design in the whole world, obviously. It's a cool purple color. Okay, we've got cables there that are confusing. This is the extra power hat that goes on the top. We'll see me install that. This is the bit that makes me feel the most scared because that looks really technical. A spring kit. Springs, and instructions somewhere. Yeah, instructions, we'll print those out in a tick. So, this is what you get. So now we have 3 servos. The default one, this one here that comes with the machine, the coreless servo, and now the new brushless servo. Plus the thing that I'm really interested in, these springs to add force, a medium spring and a light spring. We'll get back to that in a little bit. This one is $6, this one is $60, and this one is $125 and comes with its own power supply that's over there. Okay, other differences. Slowest, fastest, mediumist in theory, although personally I don't worry too much about the speed of these things. I tend to run my plots slowly all the time for various reasons. If you run like a fountain pen too fast, it can draw faster than it can pull the ink through the system, so you have to run those fairly slowly. It's quieter when it runs slower, and I also like things to finish at lunchtime and at the end of the day so I don't get distracted when I'm in the middle of something and it finishes a plot. So I set the timer to be slow so it finishes when I'm ready for it. While it might seem like the biggest selling point, faster plots, that's probably the least important for me. Okay, noisy, quiet, in theory, quietest, but because this is going to be having downward pressure and it's quite strong, I think there's going to be lots of downward force whenever it sends a pen down. So there's going to be quite a lot of thunking if you have a lot of up-down pen action in your plots. So it might actually be louder, I guess we'll find out. Next up, least durable, very durable, and even more very durable, I guess. This is not a servo podcast, so that's my excuse for not going into the difference between them, the normal one, the coreless, and the brushless. obviously not because I don't really know what the difference is, but I think it comes down to these two having more lesses, less core and less brushes, which are things that can wear out. The less contact there is, the less heat, and the less things wear out. So these two are better because they're fairly contactless. These are going to last you a lot longer than the default one that can last from a few weeks to 6 months, they normally go for me. Weakest, strong, strongest. This is the one that's important to me. You may have seen in other penplot videos that I have this jam jar on the top of the pen. The reason for doing that is that there's no downward pressure to force the pen down. With a pencil and some other tools, having downward force really helps, like these Posco pens that you really need to push down on. With other various pens, particularly ballpoints and gel pens, and especially with these like white ink pens, they're prone to skipping and sliding without that additional downward force. So why not use a load of extra weight or elastic bands or springs? Well, because the default servo isn't strong enough to then lift the pen back up. The middle servo, the coreless one, is a lot stronger, and here I have two jam jars kind of taped together with some coins in, and it can manage to lift that back up, so that's to add extra weight, but it's still not quite enough force for like pencils and some ballpoint pens. You just can't add enough weight. This brushless servo, however, which has its own power supply and the springs, so we're going to be testing how much more force this applies downwards. I'm not sure it'll be enough for the Posca pen that needs constant priming, but I'm willing to give it a test. I'm also dying to try out this liquid chrome metallic pen. A quick note about engraving. I've done engraving on zinc and copper plates with just the default servo, and it's been absolutely fine. So if you're thinking about doing engraving, you don't need these servos to do that. Enough talk. Let's go look at which AxiDraw we're going to attach this to. Come with me. This here is the A1 pen plotter, and it's already got the coreless servo on it. So I put that in the other week. This is the machine that I use the most, and obviously I want to have all the best things on the machine, but I'm actually not going to put this new servo on this machine for a reason I'll come to in a moment. Meanwhile, over here, we've got the version 3 A3 AxiDraw, and this still has the default servo on it. So I think this is the one that I'm going to replace, and I'll do a recording of that in a moment. However, first, let's do a pen plot that has a fairly up-down design. I'm going to record the volume. I'm going to do a time-lapse, set up a time-lapse here, and then have a timer going. We'll see how long this one takes, and then we'll switch this and then do it all over again. So let's set this away. Alright, it's all finished. It's now time for me to go change this. I think I'll do it over on the table there. So why not put the servo and the spring onto this A1 plotter, as this is the one that I use quite a lot? Well, the reason for that is this table. This table is really flat. This is as flat a table as I could get without spending a fortune. But even with this table, it has a slight slope to it and an ever so slight dip just here. So if I set the pen, well, actually let's bring you in closer. If I set this pen to the right height here, so it just about reaches the paper when it goes down, and then we extend it all the way out here, it'll actually to touch the table, or in this case it would be the paper. And you can see this mark here where that's happened previously because there's a slight slope. Now adding the spring to this bit here actually reduces that vertical range that we can use. I think on this A1 plotter, if I add the spring, I won't be able to touch the paper here if I don't touch the paper over here, and that's the reason for not using it on the A1. Also, most of the problem I have is when I'm dealing with black paper. This is Fabrino Black, which is fantastic paper, but I don't use this paper in anything bigger than an A3 size, so I don't really need to use the A1 plotter when I'm on this paper here. So I think I'm going to update this one here. When I installed the previous servo on the AxiDraw, I did a time lapse, and a few people actually wanted to see it broken down into more steps. So I'm going to do this one. We're going to video every step of the way, because some people might like the reassurance of seeing a complete incompetent like me actually do it. If you don't want to see the whole thing, then skip to the next chapter, or I'll put the time on the screen around here-ish that you can jump to skip all of that. But for now, let me follow the instructions to get this done. I'm not looking forward to this bit at all. Here we go. Well, hello, this is a bit awkward. So the first thing to do is work out which one of these you have and to remove it all. Now you could have, depending which AxiDraw, this silver plate, let's get that in focus, or this black mounting plate. Now this is the silver one, most likely you have a default silver one, so we're going to go with that. So following the instructions, it says to jump straight to section B. Step 1 is to remove this bit here, and I'll show you why in a second. Now the reason for doing that is because in here, I need to lower this down. Right, we can see those two screws in there. Now they're this kind of wacky star shape, which is irritating. I'll show you those better once I get in there, but let's undo that. This here is a T20, is that in focus? There we go. So let's undo this. Okay, so you can see those are pretty long, but they're out now. So this bit here, this is what the end plate looks like. So the screws will either go in here or in here, depending which design you have. Pretty easy. Right, the instructions say that your servo is normally held in place by these cable ties here. However, mine is not. Mine is held in place with sticky tape, because that's how slack I am every time I change them. So let's undo that. And then unplug which end comes out. That end comes out. So this allows me to take the servo off, but obviously I don't have to here. What I do have to do is clip this off. Let me go find some clippers. Back in a second. These are the bluntest things. Hold on. Right, so this is separated here, and we'll deal with these next. So these things are kind of fun, and they're my favorite thing to undo. You just poke those with a pen. Let me go get a pen or a stabby thing. Actually, I might be able to use this Allen key. Let's give it a go. So if I stab the middle of that, and the middle of that, that pushes these out. They should be loose on the other side here. Should just be able to pull those. 1, 2. That bit. And that's my cable free. Cable has this aligning plate here, which we're going to use in a tick, so those two things there. So I think we're good on that front. Let me read the instructions. That's fairly simple so far, wasn't it? Now we're going to attach this. Goes on exactly the same way. It's got these holes here that we're going to line up, and we're making sure that the arm is facing this way and the power is over here. We're just going to screw this back on. Let's do that right now, exactly the same way as we did before. Right. So I've got all this set up, straight through here, straight through here. I've lowered the servo a bit to give me easier access to these. I'm now going to attempt to screw them in. That's one in. Let's get the other one. Okay, I'm going to see if I can show you this. Right then, down in there you can just about see those two screws, and they're going to the outer edge of the holes that they can screw into. That's important, otherwise it will go all wonky later. So I'm going to carry on doing that. This is all back in place. Let's, should I put this back on yet? Let's leave this off for the moment. Okay, it says to check that I have clearance. Let me just move you to, where shall I move you to? Now we want to make sure that this bracket here goes over the top of this bit here. It would seem difficult for it not to do that, but there we go. we now definitely clear there. Good. Next instruction. Next up, it's telling me I need this, which is a guide for something over here. And also from this bag of stuff, we're supposed to have this spacer and this spacer, two little small things. And this is to bring the cable forwards a little bit because reasons. I have no idea why. This is going to be fiddly to show. I'm going to try to put it here. Let's lower this down. So this is what we're going to deal with. Step 1. Okay, so this is going to go here. Oh, that's handy. Right. There's these two little screws here that are already there. So this is just going to go on. Then we need to have, this is called the cable backer, which is going to go there. And then the cable itself here. So both of those two pieces. So we put this through and this through. Now I think I'm just supposed to press them and they snap into place. Really hard. Oh, there we go. And then going to press this one really hard. We're all done. That was also easy. Okay, next step. So it says connect the new servo. So white to white, black to black. That seems particularly easy. Cable in here. Connect those. I'm all wired up now. Okay, so the next thing it's telling me to do is this is going to go sort of here, roughly, this end and then this end with the cable tie, but they kind of have it just hanging out the back. I just want to use sticky tape again. I could just put it there, I guess. You can't read the warning then, but who needs warnings? Okay, this is a very serious point here. We've come this far. I am about to use some sticky tape. Do not do this. Follow the instructions. Don't use sticky tape. Don't do this. Okay, now we have securely fastened this onto here with our these things, which I'm sure are great and everything. I'm still using tape. So the next step is us putting this power module onto the top here. So we need to unscrew these 4 screws. No, just these 3 screws. Then we can screw this on. So let's go grab an Allen key that fits. I think that one maybe? Oh, no, wait, I've missed a step. Hold on. I'm being bad. First thing you're supposed to do is disconnect this wire down here. So let's do that. Safety first, kids. Okay, now we do this. What they're saying is optional but highly recommended is there's this channel here to run cables through. And it's suggesting that I run the cables through there now before fastening it down to keep things nice, neat and tidy and all away from the front. I am not going to do that because I move the machine around all the time and I unplug them and plug another machine in and switch things around. I'm sure it's a really good idea if you want to be organised. I'm not that organised, so let's just screw it back on. Now we're going to reattach this. So this is the new servo power. Can you see this over here? Let's move you a little bit. So this we're going to reattach. So we got white, red, black. White, red, black. I'm going to guess, without even reading the instructions, that those connect together. That was easy. So we still got this thing over here. All right. And this goes, does this even read? Right, okay. This here, let me take you off here so I can show you. Normally this, or the equivalent to this, is connected to this bottom row here. Because we're using a brushless, the brushless is powered by the 3rd one up. So we're going to stick it on here. According to the diagram, let me just go have a look. The white is on the inside. So white on the inside like that, black, and then it's supposed to reach, oh my god, but it doesn't. Whew, that's a snug fit. So that is on there. That is a bit tighter than I would like things to be. We can see that in place. White, white. Let's have a look in the instructions. The instructions say black is on the outside or white is on the inside. Let's get some light. Well, I honestly hate doing this type of thing, but that wasn't too bad, even though we skipped a couple of very important steps, like using the ties. Now we need to go power it all up, so let's move back to the table and set that up. Okay, so I got my cables as normal. This is the power cable that they sent me to make sure that I'm using the right one with this. And then this is the USB, micro USB thing that comes from there. So that goes in as normal. According to the instructions, the power goes in here. And then we have this new adapter thing that's really short, and it says that goes from here to here, providing power as usual to here. Let's just adjust this back up again. I'm just going to use this tool to push this arm back up to the horizontal position, just because it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. So in theory, I can turn that on. Anyway, that was all a bit arduous. Not the most interesting video, I'm sure, but if you wanted to go through with somebody, and like I said, make sure that somebody who's completely incompetent, me, can change it, then I'm sure anybody else can change it. But there's two more things I need to do. The second one is put the spring on so we can test that. But the first one is I need to update the AxiDraw software. In Inkscape, that should be easy. You should update to the latest version. I use the command line tool, and I need to update to, I think, 3.8, and I'm 3.4 at the moment. So I'm going to do some very boring updates onto the Mac Mini that's under the table, and then we'll come back and put the spring on and make sure it all works. I'll see you in a second. Down here's the Mac Mini that runs everything. I've just updated the software on there, so I'm running the latest version. If we come over to here, so this is, I'll tell you in a second actually. So if I run the version command, I can see that I'm using version 3.8.1. This is my plotter remote controller because I'm tired of kneeling down here trying to do everything there. So I've written the software. It's not public. I might make it public at some point, but it reckons that the estimated time to do this plot is 22 minutes 52. But now if I click the brushless servo option on, and what the brushless servo is, once again, this is the brushless servo, but it means that we need to send instructions to this third set of pins up instead of the bottom set of pins. So we have to be explicit about that. So by turning this on, we can do that. If you're using Inkscape, then you don't have to do any of this stuff. If you're using Python, then you're probably fine with all this type of stuff. I happen to use the AxiDraw command line, so I have to put all these different flags on. So checking that checkbox there is just sticking another flag on. It's not complicated. I'm making it a little more complicated than it really is. Anyway, if we hit preview on this and we've got brushless on, instead of it being 22 minutes, it's going to come back and say, it reckons it's going to be 15 minutes 23. That's quite an improvement. We'll find out if that's true or not in a second. I'm going to attach the pen holder and then the springs. We'll go through that in a second, and then do another time-lapsey type of thing. Those numbers seem to suggest is running 30% faster. I think that's how percentages work, is running at 130% normal speed. Not sure. Anyway, that very much depends on your design. If you're using lots of long straight lines, then you're not going to gain much speed in the pen going up and down. If your design has lots of pen up and down in it, then you're going to gain quite a lot from upgrading to this servo. Anyway, let's stick the springs on and then get it set up. All right, we're now going to attach the spring thing on here. You have two springs, a medium spring and a light spring. Now, they say that this one is about twice as strong as this one. This one is good for gel pens and things like that. Well, this is good for traditional ballpoint pens. Because I'm going to try the Posca and also a pencil, I'm just going to go with this bad boy to start off with. Now, you also have this little plastic thing. There's a small ridge on the top. That small ridge goes upwards. The smooth thing goes down. And then we've got this thing on here. Okay, first things first, we need to toggle this so it's in the down state. Up, down, up, down. Okay, down. This goes on. Spring goes on. And then we're going to put this on And I'm just going to start it here. I don't want to overdo it. Okay, that seems good. Now we're going to toggle it again and make sure that this is all okay, which it is, and then back down again. So let me take you off here so I can show you this. Well, I've put this on here. If I toggle it up, it's all scrunched up. You can see there's still a little bit of give in there. It's not completely compressed. Now, if I move this down too far, and that was completely solid, that's too much. So I could probably get away with just a little bit more, but not much more. Let's just adjust it a pinch and then call it done. Yeah, it's got pretty good pressure on there. That's pretty pushy down. Okay, let's do the time-lapse plot and see how we get on. I guess we're in the backlit part of the day. Anyway, snap judgment, it's noisy as I'm pretending now that I'm recording a video and I'm going to be telling you all about something amazing to do with pen plotters, probably. And the new pen plotter servo is working in the background. I don't really think I'll be able to get away with that one. We've already made a video comparing the volume of the default servo with the cordless servo, so you can go watch that video again. The cordless was a lot quieter than this one. Pretty sure when we look at the audio I recorded that this new one's going to be a lot louder than the default one, so if you want quietness, go with the cordless. Obviously I've only used it very briefly, but it is quicker, we've already seen that. The pen I was using was a Uniball rollerball pen, and it did seem a little bit darker when I'm looking at the lines. I guess the big test will be gel pens and Bic pens, so I'm going to be doing those in the next few weeks to see what those do. The big one for me is I did a test with pencils. So here we go side by side. This one is the default servo, which I did before I changed, and then this one here is the new servo. So default, new. It's pretty obvious, and that's with this pen. This is a Faber-Castell Gripmatic automatic pencil. So what's going on there is whenever the lead runs out, it has a little mechanism that auto feeds a little bit more lead through. It isn't perfect, but this is pretty good. This has me fairly stoked because I've not been able to do pencil stuff before, particularly on large paper, just because there isn't enough downward pressure. This seems to show that there will be. I'm feeling pretty positive about it. I'm glad I haven't stuck it on the A1 machine and I have it on the A3. And there's another reason for that is I'm trying out some more A3 stuff and an iDraw plotter in a couple of weeks' time, so I can see how those two work together. What else have I got to say about it? Well, attaching it was really easy. I did make one mistake. One of the cables I had switched the wrong way around, even though I tried my best to get them right. So when I first tried to make it toggle up and down, that didn't work. It was really easy to spot what I'd done wrong and then turn it around. And after that, it worked fine. That's on me, not on the servo. That's probably enough. This video has been long enough. Thank you for joining me. I hope it was useful for you. I'll add some links down below. I'm not sponsored by Evil Mad Scientist. I don't get any kickback from it, so it's completely independent review. Next week, I'm testing the magnetic easel board thing. That should be a fairly straightforward one. It's a flat board, so that should be good. And then the week after, I'm comparing the iDraw version 3 with the AxiDraw version 3. And then I'm doing a whole bunch of pen plotting tutorials. So there's a lot of pen plotting stuff in the future. I hope you join me for that. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.